Last video somehow did awful with views but did great with watch time, so it's clear that I'm gonna need to do something else to revive the channel. Anyway, welcome back to Sonic Mechanics Recreated, a series where I recreate a bunch of old Sonic mechanics inside of Clickteam Fusion for simple Sonic worlds. Today's tutorial is going to be about the running type of bosses in Sonic games. These have been around for a long time and have appeared in lots of modern Sonic games as well. Counting all the 2D Sonic games, I think Sonic 3 was the first one where it appeared. Maybe it was Sonic 3 and Knuckles, or it was just Sonic 3. That was where the first running boss appeared, I believe. It's been around for a while. Mania brought back a few of those running bosses as well, and today I'm going to show you how to recreate those. It is pretty simple, believe it or not. And I'm not going to show how to add your own boss to it. I'm just showing you how to set up the level to a point where then you can add whatever you need to add from there. I do have a bosses tutorial video from the Sonic.exe tutorial series, so you could try to use that to help create a boss, or if you already have an idea for a boss and already know how you could make it, then you go with that. So that is it from me, so on to the tutorial. Alright, so as always, just going to start off by showing what exactly we're going to make. This does include a Metal Sonic boss example that I've added onto here, just kind of have the example of a boss and a trigger to kind of loop the level back to the start, because this doesn't go on infinitely, it stops at some point, so I will explain different tactics you can use to get it to go on infinitely, so that way you can be there for as long as you have to. These tile sprites are just the Sonic Mania Studiopolis sprites from that running boss. I just got it from a massive Sonic Mania sprite sheet collection on the Spriters resource. I'll link it in the description. I just had these sprites here for an example because there weren't any like smooth I mean, there's these for the loops, but you know, usually with running bosses you don't want to have too many obstacles that would like raise Sonic up too high or too low, and then you don't really want to have any solid obstacles that would stop Sonic, because then that could break part of the level. So usually this is the most you want to have, just like slopes that go up and down by a little bit. So I just copied the Sonic Mania ones and spread them out here. Here we go. I'll just show this, so it'll show like the basic running across and the camera following for Sonic, but the Metal Sonic boss will also be there. He doesn't attack at all, he just kind of appears, does one little move to loop the level, and that's kind of it. So here's that. So you can see we start out normal, but it's when we go past here then the actual running boss triggers. So you can see I'm not touching the keyboard at all. Sonic is sort of running, he's forced out. He's not allowed to go outside of the screen, but I can hold this to kind of keep moving forward to try to get near Metal Sonic. He'll use this attack to kind of reset our position, but you can go up here. I did make it where you could hit him. But yeah, as you can see, it's a running kind of boss. Even if I try to hold left key, that's all Sonic's gonna do. So he can't really get stopped, he can only go forward so much as long as he can reach the end of the frame here. That's all that matters. But yeah, and then you don't touch it, he doesn't go to idle state, he keeps running, but he just goes back at a certain speed. So yeah, and then you can jump, that can boost you up, and you can hit bosses of course, and then at this point you just kind of make him do whatever you want to do, make Metal Sonic, or just whoever your bosses, do whatever you want to do. So yeah, that's kind of it. It's pretty simple, believe it or not. We are actually going to use the default Simple Sonic World's boss triggers and boss areas, because those are actually useful. I have a blank act here in Sonic Mechanics Recreated. I have a blank act right here, so most likely you'll have this where it's full of stuff, so you just need to delete stuff. Definitely do not delete these because we're going to need them, but basically all the stuff, Goal Maker, Mega Sonic, all these little things here, just don't delete those. I've gotten a lot of comments recently about people having issues with some things going on after they try to delete stuff in their level, and it always comes to the fact that they deleted something that shouldn't have been deleted. So definitely make sure these are out. Everything else here should be fine, and you can delete it because there's copies of it up here and down here as well. Well, this is the default Simple Sonic Worlds. This is the special edition. It's got a bit more stuff to it, but yeah, I just always have a blank act here, so that way I can avoid needing to do all that. So if you have a blank act like this, or once you get one, you can basically use that as your running level. So let's do tutorial. I'll just do running boss tutorial version. There we go. Drag it all the way down here. So now we have this. Once you've deleted all your objects, kind of make sure it works just fine on its own. Mine always does because it's already set to that. But you kind of want to like try to build your level. In a way, I'm not really going to show how to build the level because I suck at level design, so I do not feel comfortable like trying to teach it. Basically what I explained here, you know, don't have anything that goes too high, but I mean, you can have it just completely flat all the way through if that's what you want. So Sonic Mania, I think they just had this to kind of add some movement to it and kind of make it feel really cool, I guess. I don't know. I can't find words right now. I'm just gonna copy this here. This is from a sprite sheet I got. If I didn't mention it already, I can delete these here, and then we'll just use this right here. Now, I will say, if you are doing this like me, where this is an active object, and usually active objects do not have collision, if you want to give an active object collision, you can go to events here, go to qualifiers, edit, and give it a qualifier of 0. You go to add, usually there's a 0 here, give it the qualifier of 0, and then you can see when we load up the frame, Sonic can collide with it, just like as if it's a backdrop. Make sure it's on layer 3 as well, and Sonic will still be able to collide with it. So now we have that basic thing. So just kind of set up your whole stage. It's really just like a small section you make, and then you just repeat it constantly. I don't think this is exactly what repeats throughout the Sonic Mania boss. This is just a small chunk of it, but this is what I had repeating. So to repeat that in a quicker way, you can duplicate, and then on columns do something like maybe like 6 to extend it, and it just keeps going and going and going. It goes off screen eventually. So yeah, now we have that going, so we just have a long stage that repeats and we can run across it. Alright, so the actual boss itself. So you want to get the boss trigger and boss cam area, just those two, not any of the other things. Drag them down here just like that. We're gonna try to get the boss camera to line up around right there, like the bottom of the stage here, because even though the camera's going to be moving, it's still going to adjust to the Y coordinates of the boss area object. So still make sure that is set properly, but then this is what Sonic will touch to actually trigger the boss, so that can kind of be wherever you feel like putting it. And then obviously if you want to trigger it right away, then you just put it right on spawn, so that way Sonic triggers it right away. Alright, so obviously now if we try to run this here, we get this. So it sets up the camera like that, and we need to make a few adjustments to it because it has default code for, where is it? So under level objects code, boss, close all that, camera setup boss. It's not that much stuff. This is all setting up the camera for the boss. So we can use the alterable value A of the boss area to tell whether the boss is activated or not, because that's what they use to tell if it's activated. So first thing, this line right here, either inactivate it or delete it. We do not need it. This is just setting up the Mecha Sonic boss or the Mecha Pod boss, whichever it is, the default boss. This we need, these two we just have to make some adjustments to. So first thing, so right here, this is setting up the camera's like minimum and maximums, and then the action mode it's in. So with this, we want to keep the Y value ones because we do want to limit with the Y value, but we want to delete the X value ones because we want to move the camera around on the X axis. So we want to delete those so that way we can freely move on the X. And another thing, we want to, under alterable values, set on camera X. Actually, no, don't do set. I just remembered you can actually do alterable values. Add to, under camera X, add 5 is kind of the most generic value you can get for the default speed. So you can make it faster if you want, or make it slower, whichever. Usually these levels are meant to be fast paced, so usually 5 and above, I guess, is what I'd recommend. So now what that would do is this. So it's moving, the camera's moving now, but thing is, if I stop Sonic, he will stop and he will fall out of the frame and like get stuck out there. He can run forward as long as the camera's not fast enough to where Sonic can't keep up with it, but then it's not slow enough to where Sonic can easily outrun it. Oh, and we've reached the end of the level. So that's, now that sets up the moving camera. So now we need to set up like the player to not allow the player to exit the area. So you can do that just straight in here if you want, or you can do it in like a whole new group area. I'm just gonna do it in here. So first thing, if the player character sensor, if its position, the X coordinate, if it gets lower or equal to the X left of the frame, so if we get to the far left and it's all the way over there. Another thing, add this on here so that way it says only do this when the boss is activated, not when we're just in default mode. So when that happens, then find the player movement values here, and we want to set X speed to something that will kind of bounce Sonic forward a little bit. So give him a little boost of speed there. So you can experiment with values. Maybe I think 5 might have been what I used. It wasn't 5, it was 6 that I'd set it to, which allowed it to bounce him a little bit. So you can see now, if I'm not touching the keyboard at all, it just keeps bouncing him forward, so he basically cannot exit the frame. Even if I try to run this way, he really can't get out. So now he can just keep running like this. So that's that. So now we want to also do the other frame. So we do if it's greater or equal to, and then we can just change this to the right frame. And then in this case, we want to kind of set the speed down a little bit. I think 2 is what I did, just because he's moving very fast already. So setting it to 0 like was too much. So let's see. Okay, I guess even 2 is too much. So let's try 3. Let's see. It's like not something crazy that shoots him back too far, but at the same time, not anything that would allow him to get through. Let's see. Maybe we'll try 4. Let's see how 4 works. You can experiment with these values all you want, and then depending on what you want Sonic's default speed value to be, that'll depend on too. Okay, 4 seems to work for me. That I feel alright about that. So now Sonic basically cannot escape the frame at all, so he's stuck in here. But another thing, if I let go, Sonic stop. Well, we've hit the end of the level. Okay. Okay, as I was saying, something about these running Sonic bosses is that if you don't touch it at all, Sonic doesn't completely stop. He just runs. He kind of jogs in a very slow speed, but he stays at that speed. So we want to set that up now. So basically, we do when the boss is active, we can insert under the what's it called, player movement values, under here, if the X speed is getting lower or equal to, let's say, I think I did 2.5, I think, I'm not sure, oh well, we'll experiment with it. So let's say if it gets lower or equal to 2.5, then we want to set the X speed to 2.5. So that way his speed basically cannot get under that value while the boss is active. While it's not active, he can be any speed he wants. But now, while he's like this, let's see. So if I don't touch him, yep, that works. It might be hard to tell, but if I can get all the way to the edge of the frame here, so if I don't touch it, he never ends up going into the idle state when he was before. So 2.5 seems a little slow. I'm gonna just try speed of 3. You don't want it to be something like too slow, but at the same time not something too fast. You just need to find that perfect balance. So let's say holding the right arrow key, running all the way here. Now let's not touch it. So as you can see, he stays like that for a bit. So he keeps running. Actually, now that I think about it, I think 4 is what I did. Yeah, I think 4 was the speed I did. Let's see how that looks. Maybe 4 is a bit better. So running all the way here, but yeah, okay, not touching it, that's how he'll run. That's the slowest he'll go. So that works for me. That basically sets up all his movement and getting the movement to work here. So he's stuck in the borders there. When he slows down to get up, okay, well, that happened. Yeah, you can extend the end of the level by, under the frame itself, literally just get the X coordinates here and like extend it by a lot, just like that. So yeah, gosh, the sprite's still cut out. Okay, so that's how you can extend that to kind of have more room. But usually these are meant to be infinite, so I am not sure how they did it in the original Sonic games, because there's different ways to do like infinite scrolling in any game engine at all. You can, like, when you're at a very ending point here, you can have it teleport you all the way back to the beginning, but you have to get like that perfect pixel spots, where all the pixels need to be in like a perfect spot in order for it to not be seen. So it basically looks like an infinite loop. That's what you would do for normal scrolling in just any game at all, I guess. But here with these running bosses, depending on how simple or advanced your boss is, how the background looks, how the characters are, how the tiles down here look, it can be very hard to repeat those and do that. So if you manage to pull that off, then kudos to you, because that is impressive. But that would be, if your boss is simple enough and there's not a lot of action going on, then maybe you could pull it off. But if your boss is very advanced and there's lots of action going on, then that would be tough to do. So an alternative you can have is to where somewhere around here you place down some trigger, and when either the player or the enemy, whichever, when you touch that trigger, it activates an event that, let's say, you can try to implement it into your boss's attacks, where maybe the boss does something where it kind of resets or it flashes or fills the screen for a bit, and while the screen is filled like that, you can teleport back somewhere, and basically the player can't even notice because the screen is covered. Let's say for this one here, I had it where when Metal Sonic touches this trigger, he starts charging up, and then after a bit he flashes, and then while the flash is happening, it shoots us back out here, and then you basically don't even notice. It can be like a Phantom Ruby type of attack where it teleports you to a different area, and really it doesn't really hurt you at all. It just, the only purpose of it is to bring the player back here, so that way you can have an infinite running boss. This level I extended a lot, and then you kind of just put this at the end there. But I mean, that's kind of everything, real. I mean, Oh yeah, this. So, making sure the direction stays that direction. So, under this here, where it's just multiple value of a equals 1, you can simply add on, where is it? Direction 1, just like that. And then I think copy this. I think there was something else you could do to like ensure that it stays like that. Where is it? Player animation, change direction. For left key, you can add on this here, so that way the left key only, actually, well, change that to 0, so that way the left key only works when the boss is not activated. It'll only change the animation direction when it's not activated. If the boss is activated, it will not change the direction, and Sonic will always be looking this way. So now if I hold the left arrow key, it is there for a second, but it doesn't really stay there, so that's fine. That's all that really matters. I tried to fix the skidding thing showing up. I couldn't really figure that out, but it's no big deal to me. So at this point, you basically add your boss and add anything you want to add, and like I said, try to implement some attack in there to where it covers the screen for a second and then shoots you back out here. There's probably other ways to get it to loop infinitely. If you have a boss where you have to hit it a certain amount of times within a certain time, then you could theoretically extend it enough to keep that time limit in the frame there. But most likely it's a boss with just a certain amount of health, and it's just whenever you manage to drain all the health, that's how it is. So with that, in that case, you would have to like teleport back at the beginning, but that is the best way you could do it. If your boss is really simple and doesn't have much action going on with the sprites, you could try to just teleport it without doing anything. I just realized I should probably show how to properly teleport it back. I didn't think about that. So I have this whole group down here for Metal Sonic's boss and everything. All this isn't really important. It's these down here that are important for the teleporting. So when Metal Sonic collides with this trigger, that's a sound effect that fires an event after 3 seconds, which is this, and fires everything here. These are just sound effects. See that sets Metal Sonic's X position back to a certain point. You need to really experiment with the values to find out where it's taking it. That flashes it. Okay, so where is it? It's here. Yeah, okay, this is just to allow him to be hit. Okay, so the float X's and float Y's are what teleport the player, so that's, where is it? Right here, float X and float Y, that's kind of the player coordinates. So, for me, 350 was closest to the beginning of the stage, to where the camera would transition there nice as well. You have to really experiment with the numbers. The camera X was 350. These camera X and float X, their values should be like the same, like when the camera is at 350 and float X is 350, like those are theoretically in the same place. So you just have to experiment with that and find where a good position is to teleport back, and make sure you teleport any other enemies back there as well. And then from that, just kind of keeps going with any attacks. You could have it as an attack that plays at random where it teleports you back, but towards the end of this is like very close. It doesn't need to be this close, but like far back, let's say if it goes back there, maybe like around here-ish in this area, put the trigger there, so that way towards the end of the level it will definitely trigger the attack and allow everyone to be thrown back here. So that is really it. That's all the it's a pretty basic thing to do. It's really just set up the level and then from there add your boss, and that's a whole different topic. So that's kind of it for setting up Sonic style, like running bosses for Sonic games. Anyway, hope you learned something from this video. Of course, if you have issues, ask me in the comments down below and I will try my best to help you. I might make a separate video at some point discussing my 2025 plans. I don't know if I'd want to do it right now. Just make a separate whole video of me yapping about 2025 plans and stuff I want to try to do and see how it goes, see what you guys think of it. So that's kind of it for this tutorial, and I will see you all in the next tutorial. Goodbye.